to live life to the fullest, to be the most extraordinary version of yourself and live the most extraordinary life that is certainly waiting for you to claim it for yourself. We need to realize that we will never have absolute control over what happens in our lives. We cannot control how people will behave toward us. We cannot control the weather, for example. And as long as you are alive and living in this place, isn't it true that everything in your life will always be subject to change? Your looks will not stay the same. Your age will not stay the same. Your health will also transform. Everything. It's all subject to change. And one of the biggest ways that we ourselves hold up a wall and block off the extraordinary life that we came here to live is by resisting the things that happen in our lives that we think should not be happening. That we believe that our life would be better, more satisfaction would exist for us if certain things in our life didn't happen. Now, this makes sense, actually, because, of course, anybody would admit that certain financial struggles, relationship struggles, health struggles, somebody attacking you on the street, all these random things that I'm sharing right now, just as examples, we can all agree that, yes, I would certainly not prefer these things to happen. But the fact is that while we are alive, on a human level, the person, the character that we're playing in this world, we cannot control these things from happening. So the first thing that we need to understand to live and fulfill our extraordinary purpose and our extraordinary life here is that as long as we are against the things that happen, as long as we fear things to happen that aren't even happening to us, but we're afraid of the financial struggles, we're afraid of the relationship struggles. Many of us suffer from this fear even when we aren't actually in our own realities experiencing these problems. And then when those problems might make themselves known on your journey, you suffer it then too. So we're suffering multiple times. And in this suffering, in this wishing that these things weren't happening, we actually literally block the flow of the power of our true being. Now let's speak on this actually for a moment, because your true being, I want to emphasize what I mean by this. Your human character is just that. This is just an avatar. It's just a character that you're playing. It's a game. It's a show. Who you really are is the player. And who you really are is eternal. So when your human character dies, and they will one day, their whole story, all their identity, all their beliefs, all of that will just disintegrate and fade into nothingness. It will no longer exist. And that might scare you on the human level because you think that that means that you won't exist, but that's not true. You will continue to exist long after your human character has passed on. You will always exist. You are the infinite, eternal creator. You are the player of this game. And just like when you sit on the couch to play a video game, if your character dies in it, that doesn't mean that who you are sitting on the couch dies. Do you see this? So there is a reality beyond this. But many of us have forgotten and lost touch with that. So we live our lives on the human level in fear of the things that happen. And again, we suffer it multiple times. We suffer in our mind as we plan for these horrible things to happen in our life, and we do our best to create our life in a way where we won't have to deal with those things. And then we also suffer it when it actually may happen. So first and foremost, we need to understand that our true self, there is nothing that could happen to our human character in this life that could make even the slightest scratch or indent or wound on that which you actually are, your true self. It's impossible. There is no amount of suffering, no amount of challenges, no amount of pain that could possibly happen to your human person that would ever leave a mark on who you really are. It's just not possible. Because you might be in this world, embodying and acting as this person in this reality experience, but you are not of this world. You are in it, but you are not of it. So there's really nothing that can happen here that can damage you. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you, I don't want to give you more trust or faith or have some kind of new belief that gives you more courage to live your life. I don't want to share that. What I would prefer is that you realize and remember it for yourself. Because when you remember, when you actually wake up and become aware of the part of you that's playing, your human person doesn't need trust or faith or belief anymore. They don't need stories that give them armor and courage to live their life. You don't need that anymore because you are actually awake as the you that you truly are. So this is my true wish in creating this video, is to help you to remember and feel the presence of who you are and where you actually are. Because if I were to ask you, look at me and point at me, you would point at Nathan, the human character that's speaking and making this video. But that's not actually true. I'm not here. I'm not in this human person. If you were to cut off both of my arms, and now I am missing 2 arms, does that make me less Nathan? No, I'm still Nathan. If you lobotomize me and remove the part of my brain that forms personality, stories, beliefs, and things like this, am I still Nathan or am I no longer Nathan? Well, somebody might say, oh, the Nathan I used to know is gone. But that's just because you've confused me for the personality and character that is animated before you. This is not me. It is simply a character I am playing. So, all of us will realize and feel into this more and more in our lives. Because as we move through this world, again, everything is subject to change. We cannot control anything. And as long as we try to control it, and as long as we resist the things that happen in our human character's life, because we think it's so serious and we think it's happening to us, it's not. It's happening to the character you're playing, and that's not actually you. You see what I'm saying? Well, you'll suffer enough in your life that eventually you will wake up and remember who you are. Suffering is the #1 source of consciousness in this reality, in this game. There are many other games that are currently being played simultaneously. In this game, suffering is actually the nature of awakening. So all of the pain, all the suffering we experience in our life always leads us to the light of realization of who we actually are. Because when you suffer enough, eventually you will have to wake up and remember who you are. People who live very cushy, very easy lives where they're born and everything's just handed to them, no challenges, everything works out great for them, they could possibly live their entire life not realizing who they actually are. So it's those of us that are presented with challenges and suffering that are actually a lot more blessed. And this is just my personal opinion. That if you are someone who experiences many trials in your life, much suffering, and have had many problems and occurrences like this is great news. This is really great news because it means that you have a certain karmic momentum. And don't get too attached to these words. I can only do the best I can to explain it. You have a certain karmic momentum that you are here and you are destined to awaken. Period. So if you suffer at all in your life, if you experience any challenges, if you are a seeker at all of the something more that you know exists, you will find it. Period. You will awaken. It's not a probability, it's an inevitability. So please do not fear or resist the suffering that exists in your life. All of it is actually the greatest source of light that exists in this game. So this is good news because it means that we actually don't have to sit around being afraid of the pain that we fear may enter our lives, and we don't have to be afraid of it when it does. Because all of it is simply a mirror to reflect your true nature to you. Now, in the next part, I'm excited because what I'm going to share with you is actually a way that you can be more allowing in your life and hopefully share some energy and some awareness with you that will help you, again, not to just adopt a new belief or philosophy from this video, but to actually feel that memory from yourself that you are not actually in this world. You are because you're playing in it, and yes, you are embodying this person and your presence is everywhere, but who you really are, again, is not subject to anything that happens here. But before I do that, I wanted to tell you about today's video sponsor, Magic Mind. It's a 2-ounce energy, health, and wellness shot. It has a great energy to it. It's very uplifting, and it contains many nootropics, health compounds, adaptogens, meaning that it doesn't force your body in a certain direction. It just helps your own body to wake up to itself. This is an amazing, amazing 2-ounce wellness shot, guys. You can get yours in the link in this description, and you can use the code Vibesnfrequencies20 to get a very significant discount. It's 20% off. So check it out below. It's a 60-day money-back guarantee if you don't like it. Now, moving into the next part of this video. If your human character can at least understand and get behind the things that I've shared so far in this video enough that you can realize that you need to be more allowing of the things that happen in your life, then this is really good, because it means that from now on, when something pops up in your life, you no longer resist it. You no longer turn away and hide from it. You actually can respond. And this is what consciousness and life is all about. It's all about the ability to respond. Now, let me explain this better. Imagine you're laying here, eyes closed, all of this, and I'm poking you with a stick repeatedly, and you just lay there and you don't move. There's no breath, there's no life in you. I keep poking you, and you do not respond to my poking you. What does this mean? Well, it's clear. You are not of life anymore. Yourself, your human character, has died. So life is all about response. Life could be summed up, and it is more than this, but I'm hoping to shed some light and clarity for you here. Life is about our ability to respond. It's about our ability to that when things happen, when we are poked with the stick, we can do this. We have to first allow ourselves to be poked with the stick, and then because we are alive, we consciously have the awareness that we can say, ow, and so we can move that away. Or we can say to the one who's poking us with the stick, hey, please no longer poke me with the stick. So this is a very simple example of that life is the ability to respond. But most people, many people, have become very afraid and scared of life. They are afraid to even leave their houses to a great extent. They're afraid to enter social interactions or anything like this, because of the fear that we don't know what's going to happen. Everything is subject to change. We don't know how people are going to respond to us. We don't know whether we're going to have success or failure in this area. So we are so afraid of what could happen and what might not happen that we do not act in our lives. We refuse to respond. We stay stationary. We'll stay inside our house. We won't leave. We won't go out. We're too afraid to even go out to pick up our food, so we have someone come and drop it off at our door for us. You see these examples I'm trying to make clear? So what we need to realize is that being here, being alive in this place, means response. It means responding. And to respond to things, again, to be of life, which you are, that's why you're living and breathing right now. To be of life means to go out into the world and to live your life. And understand things are going to happen. You're going to get poked with sticks. But this is good news because you are alive and so you can respond. One of the worst things that can happen to us in this game that we're playing, in this reality, is that we become so afraid of being poked by sticks, which is what it means to be alive, by the way. Get ready to be poked. That's life. We're so afraid to be poked that we actually embody death. We are rigid. We put up these these walls to hold everything back from being able to touch us. And when something does touch us, we lose it. We freak out, we panic, we don't sleep for days, we're so anxious, we're worried about what everybody else is thinking about us or what's happening here or this. There's quite a bit that we fear that holds us back from living our lives with ease. Do you see this? So, to be allowing is step one in this process. Allow life to happen. Be willing to receive the stick poke. This means that you're alive. This is a good thing. This has a lot to do with the point of the game that you are playing this character in. Second, remember that all the changes that happen and all the pain that you might experience from the things that change and the sticks that poke you will inevitably lead to you remembering and realizing who you actually are. And when you remember who you actually are, which will happen in the perfect divine timing for you, again, it is not probability, it is inevitable. If you're here watching this video, I guarantee you, I'd stake everything that I am and everything that I am on you. I would put it all on you, all bets on you being the winner of this game, because I know who you are. I've seen you for who you really are. And you always win at this game. I know I may sound like a broken record to people who have been watching my videos over the last few weeks, but I cannot stress this enough. You always win at this game. Who you really are, the light that you are, there is no darkness, no suffering, no challenge that can ever win out against you, because that's just how powerful you are, period. Nothing ever wins against you. Why do you think you're so confident to come in and play this game? Why do you think you're so ready and willing to forget who you are and enter this reality? Because you know that you will win. Do you really think that you'd enter into some kind of game that would just be horrible, horrible suffering and you wouldn't know who you are the entire time? You wouldn't do that to yourself. So please understand this. You will wake up. It is inevitable. The challenges, the things that change in the world around us are all actually contributing to your awakening, to you remembering who you are. And when you do remember who you are, this gives you a new sort of liberation and freedom. Not new because you didn't have it before. You've always had it. You just didn't remember. You didn't realize. You were too afraid of being poked by sticks to live your life. But now when you know who you are, you see that any stick that pokes you instantly falls apart and dissolves, because nothing can withstand the presence of who you really are. The issue that we experience in our lives that creates suffering, which again isn't actually bad because the suffering leads to liberation, but the reason that we suffer in the first place is because we are identified with this human character. We think that when we're poked by a stick by life, we're like, oh God, this is some horrible thing. But remember, who you really are can never be touched by the stick. No matter how big and mighty the stick is, no matter how strong the one who wields the stick that is coming down on you is, it will never win out against you. It just won't. It's impossible. And when you realize that, because you've had enough suffering in your life that you actually remember who you are, now something very great, something very special happens in your life. Now, you willingly wake up in the morning and you are not afraid. There is none of that dialogue of, oh, what if this happens? Or, oh my God, I need to do this, or I have to take care of this, or my bills, or my relationships. There is no fear, because it is very clear to you how powerful you are. You instantly, when you tap into the infinite that you are, remember that you always win at this game. You always have, you always will. That your awakening is inevitable. That the light that you are will win in all games being played everywhere, because that's how powerful the light that you are is. So now why would you fear anything? It is suddenly easy to be this human person that you are. Not only is it easy, but it is very, very satisfying. There's so much satisfaction in being who you are in this place. You can open the door and go out and live your life, and you can do anything that feels to you to be something great that you'd like to do in your heart. And you are no longer encumbered by fear. There is no longer resistance. And when you take actions in this world, there is no fear, there's no resistance about whether that action's going to pay off or what will come from it. Because you know that it doesn't matter. Because anything that happens in this place, this is not the true success of you. The true success of you is inevitable. Again, you always win. So we really don't need to be afraid on the human level of whether we'll get the money or the success or the fame or the glory, or whether anybody will know our name 100 years from now. We don't need to worry about any of these things, because it's just a game. And I know that you may have forgotten, and I know what it feels like to feel the seriousness of life and be afraid. I felt it too previously in my life. The difference is that when you feel it enough, and when you truly have a moment where on the human level, you admit that you're done with the suffering. You're tired of constantly just picking up new goals and desires that you think are going to fulfill you. You've manifested enough success, enough relationships, enough money, all of these things, and you realize you still feel empty, you still feel unsatisfied, and you're still afraid. No matter how big your mansion is, you're still afraid. You're still in resistance to the inevitable changing of the world around you. You will still die. You can't buy immortality, not on the human level. Then when you've truly had enough of this suffering, and you see that there is nothing in this world that can fill the hole you feel within yourself, there is nothing that can liberate from that fear, that is a powerful moment in your life. Because you finally accept the pain and the suffering that you feel here. You finally accept the fear. Instead of trying to build new confidence or adopt new beliefs that give you confidence, instead of trying to attain items and money and things to protect yourself in this world, or to build yourself up to have a name and that makes you feel powerful and important and immortal, instead of trying to do these things, you know that none of them will ever work. They never could. Because this is just a game. It is just a character that you're playing. And what you really need, what you've really been looking for, is the moment where you remember that. Not the moment you hear some random guy out there telling it to you in a video, like right now. No, not the moment you read it in a book. This pales in comparison to your actual remembering and awakening in this space. Because then it's no longer a spirituality, it's no longer a philosophy, it's no longer an armor that you wear to protect yourself. It's an actual knowing. It's something that cannot be taken away from you. And now you're free, because there is nothing in this world that could ever cause you suffering ever again. Because all suffering comes from you thinking that you are this person and being afraid of being poked by the stick of life. But honestly, congratulations, because you are alive, and that means you will be poked. And even when you remember who you really are, and you go out and you live your life fearlessly, with absolute involvement, total presence, even still, life will poke you. As a matter of fact, the more you do in this world, the more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to get poked. It's just the truth. The more things you do, the more problems will arrive in your life, the more things that you will inevitably end up needing to deal with. But this is okay, because you will actually deal with them. You'll actually respond powerfully with actual awareness and presence from who you are. And nothing can ever cause you suffering again, because anything that happens to this person isn't actually happening to you. That's the difference. It's just happening to the character you're playing in this world. Isn't that interesting? If you'd like to check out Vibesnfrequencies services, classes, courses, and upcoming live events, you can do so in the description of this video. And don't forget to check out that Magic Mind. Vibesnfrequencies 20 is the coupon code. That is also linked in the description. Thanks a lot, everybody, and I'll see you for the next video.